My name is Darren Cole. I'm 28 years old, and I always thought loyalty was the bedrock of any strong bond, especially in family and love. I work as a digital marketing specialist for a mid-sized ad agency in Manhattan, pulling in a decent salary that lets me afford a cozy apartment in Brooklyn Heights with views of the East River. Life felt pretty solid, like I'd finally hit my stride after a rocky start. My parents split when I was just 10, a messy divorce fueled by constant arguments and my dad's long hours as a truck driver. After that, I bounced between them for a bit, but ended up living mostly with my uncle Marcus in his brownstone in Park Slope. Marcus was only 24 back then, fresh out of law school, but he stepped up like a second father. At 42 now, he's a sharp corporate attorney at a firm in Midtown, handling big mergers and earning the kind of money that buys him season tickets to Knicks games and weekends in the Hamptons. He taught me everything, how to tie a tie, negotiate a deal, and stand up for myself. Our bond was unbreakable. He was the guy who'd drop everything to help me with college apps or bail me out of dumb teenage scrapes. Then there was my fiancée, Jamie Turner. She was 26, a third-grade teacher at a public school in Queens, with that effortless charm that lit up any room. We met at a rooftop party in Williamsburg during Pride Month 3 years ago, bonding over craft beers and our shared obsession with old-school hip-hop. Jamie was kind-hearted, always organizing volunteer days or baking for her students' families. She fit right into my world, especially with Marcus. He'd joke that she was the sister he never had, hosting us for barbecues in his backyard or taking us to Broadway shows on his dime. My mom, Carla, who remarried and moved to New Jersey, loved her too, calling Jamie the missing piece to our fractured family. Dad, Luis, kept his distance after the divorce, but even he approved when I showed him pictures during rare visits. Our engagement happened last summer on a trip to the Finger Lakes, where I proposed at a winery overlooking Seneca Lake. Jamie said yes through happy tears, and we started planning a spring wedding at a historic venue in Central Park with a reception at a trendy spot in Chelsea. Invites went out to about 120 people, friends from NYU, colleagues, extended family from both sides. I handled the logistics like a pro, booking a string quartet and a food truck for late-night bites. Jamie's best friend from college was her maid of honor, and Marcus, naturally, was my best man. He insisted on covering the rehearsal dinner at a steakhouse in the meatpacking district, saying it was his way of celebrating the next generation. The week before the wedding, things ramped up. I was crashing at Marcus's place to finalize details, while Jamie stayed with her parents in Long Island to keep the tradition alive. One evening, we were in his home office, going over the vows and toasts over takeout from our favorite Thai spot. Marcus stepped out to grab more beers from the kitchen, leaving his laptop open on the desk. I wasn't prying, at least not intentionally, but a notification pinged, and my gaze drifted over. It was an email alert from Jamie, time-stamped just minutes ago. The subject line read, "Last night's magic," and curiosity got the better of me. I clicked it open, my heart sinking as I read, "Marcus, you make me feel alive in ways I never knew. The way your hands knew exactly what to do. I crave more. Our little secret stays safe." Attached was a selfie of them, tangled in sheets at what looked like a boutique hotel in Soho, dated from 2 nights prior. Right when I'd been out with buddies for my bachelor party at a comedy club in the village. The room spun. This wasn't a fling. The email thread went back months, full of stolen moments during work trips and girls' nights. They'd been hooking up while I was grinding at the office or planning our future. Marcus, the man who'd raised me through my teens, who I'd confided in about my insecurities with relationships post-divorce, and Jamie, who I'd built dreams with, house in the suburbs someday, kids running around. My parents' split had left me wary of commitment, but I'd trusted them both implicitly. Flashes hit me. Jamie's sudden interest in Marcus's gym routine, his overly complimentary texts about her outfits, the way they'd linger in conversations at family gatherings. I'd chalked it up to them getting along great. How naive. I snapped photos of the screen with my phone, my project management skills kicking in. Document everything, always have proof. When Marcus returned, I played it cool, saying I was wiped and needed to crash early. He clapped my back, grinning about how the wedding would be epic. Alone in the guest room, rage boiled into resolve. Confronting them privately would let them spin lies, minimize it. No, this deserved exposure on a scale that matched the hurt. I'd let the wedding day unfold, then drop the bomb when it would hit hardest. That night, I barely slept, mapping out a plan. I forwarded the emails to a private drive, then built a simple site with the evidence, screenshots, timelines, even metadata showing locations. I created custom envelopes with a note, a special message from the happy couple, scan to see. Inside each was a QR code linking to the page, designed like a wedding memory share. I printed 150 at a 24-hour copy shop in Brooklyn, using agency perks for quality cardstock. Next, I texted my lawyer buddy Alex from law school days. He was groggy at 1 a.m., but after hearing the basics, he confirmed, "Legal as hell, Darren. It's your story to tell. Just don't cross into slander. Stick to facts." He agreed to show up at the wedding incognito, ready to handle any fallout. Morning came, and I suited up in my tailored navy suit, staring at my reflection. I looked steady, but inside, adrenaline surged. At the park venue, cherry blossoms framed the setup perfectly. Guests arrived, my mom's side from Jersey, Jammy's folks from upstate, work pals buzzing about open bar. Marcus was schmoozing, tie perfect, not a clue. Jammy glided in her lace gown, eyes sparkling as she whispered how excited she was. The hypocrisy fueled me. As the ceremony started under a floral arch, the officiant, a friend from Jammy's school, welcomed everyone. I nodded to my coordinator, Lena, who'd handled dozens of park weddings. I'd slipped her the envelopes earlier, explaining they were surprise favors to distribute mid-ceremony. She moved discreetly through the rows, handing them out. I watched reactions ripple. My coworker Jamal's jaw drop, Jammy's uncle frowning at his phone, my mom clutching her pearls in confusion, then horror as she scanned. The air thickened with murmurs. Jammy shifted, sensing the shift, but not understanding. Marcus glanced around, sweat beading. The officiant reached the objection part. "If anyone knows why these two should not be wed, speak now." I raised my hand, voice firm. "I do." The Central Park crowd froze, every eye on me as I stepped forward, gripping the officiant's microphone. Jammy's face drained of color, her veil trembling slightly as she stared, wide-eyed. Marcus, standing to my left as best man, shifted uneasily, his confident lawyer's posture crumbling. The spring breeze carried the faint scent of cherry blossoms, but it couldn't mask the tension now crackling through the air. "Darren, what are you doing?" Jammy whispered, her voice barely audible, a mix of fear and confusion. I ignored her, turning to face the guests. My mom, Carla, clutching her phone with a look of betrayal. Jammy's parents, exchanging frantic glances. My NYU buddies frozen mid-scroll on their screens. "For 3 years I believed in a future with Jammy," I began, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "I trusted her with my heart. And Marcus," I turned to him, his face now ashen. "You were more than family. You raised me when my world fell apart after Mom and Dad's divorce. You taught me what it meant to be a man." My throat tightened, but I pressed on. "But the two people I trusted most have been lying to me, betraying me, for months." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Jammy's maid of honor, her friend Chloe, dropped her bouquet, her mouth agape. I gestured to the guests. "By now most of you have seen the truth. Emails, photos, proof of an affair between my fiancée and my uncle, carried out behind my back while I planned this wedding." I paused, letting the weight settle. "They thought they could stand here today, in front of all of you, and pretend nothing happened, but I won't let lies win." Marcus tried to step forward, his voice low and urgent. "Darren, let's talk privately." "No," I cut him off, louder now. "You don't get to control this anymore. You chose to betray me, both of you, and now everyone here knows exactly who you are." Jammy's knees buckled slightly, and she gripped the officiant's arm for support, tears streaming down her face. Her mother let out a choked sob from the front row. I turned back to the crowd. "This wedding is canceled. I'm done with deceit, and I'm done with both of them." Handing the mic back, I walked down the aisle, past stunned faces and whispered questions. My mom reached for my hand as I passed, her eyes red but fierce with pride. Behind me, chaos erupted. Jammy's wails, Marcus shouting my name, guests murmuring in disbelief. Outside, the park's calm felt surreal against the storm I'd unleashed. My buddy Alex, the lawyer, caught up to me near a fountain. "Man, that was brutal but brilliant," he said, clapping my shoulder. "You okay?" I nodded, feeling lighter than I expected. "I will be." By evening, the story was everywhere. Guests had shared the QR code link on social media, and it spread like wildfire across Instagram and X. A local news blog in Brooklyn picked it up by morning, dubbing it the Central Park Wedding Takedown. My phone buzzed nonstop with texts from friends, colleagues, even distant cousins offering support. I ignored most, but one message from my mom stood out. "You're stronger than I ever was. I'm so proud." The fallout was swift. Jammy's school placed her on leave. Parents don't take kindly to scandal involving their kid's teacher. She moved back to Long Island, her reputation in tatters. Marcus's firm didn't fire him outright, but clients started pulling contracts, wary of the optics. His Hamptons trips dried up, and last I heard, he was working smaller cases, his swagger gone. My mom, already distanced from Marcus after the divorce years ago, cut contact completely, calling his actions unforgivable. I took a month off work, retreating to a cabin in the Catskills to clear my head. My boss at the ad agency, Priya, was a rock, insisting I take the time, and even covering part of the wedding losses through a company fund for personal crises. The venue refunded half the deposit after the story went viral. No one wants bad PR. Alex handled the rest, ensuring Jammy had no claim to anything of mine. 2 months later, I made a bold move. I accepted a job offer in Seattle with a tech startup focused on sustainable advertising solutions. The role came with a fat pay bump and a chance to start fresh. I packed up my Brooklyn apartment, sold most of my furniture, and drove cross-country, blasting playlists Jammy and I used to love, reclaiming them for myself. Seattle's rainy vibe suited my mood, clean, introspective, new. Before I left, Marcus showed up at my place unannounced, looking like he hadn't slept in weeks. "Darren, I messed up," he said, voice cracking. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I need you to know I hate myself for this." I studied him, the man who'd once been my hero, now just a guy who'd made selfish choices. "I'm not carrying this anymore," I told him. "You live with it." I shut the door, feeling a weight lift. In Seattle, I rented a loft near Pike Place Market, diving into work that challenged me. I started hiking on weekends, finding peace in the Pacific Northwest's forests. Dating felt daunting, but I met a graphic designer named Lena at a coffee shop, and we've been taking it slow. Coffee dates, no pressure. The betrayal taught me to trust my gut, to spot the small signs I'd ignored before. Jammy reached out once, a long email apologizing, blaming momentary weakness. I didn't reply. Marcus faded from my life, and last I heard, he'd moved to a smaller firm in Jersey. The scandal faded from public chatter, but it left me sharper, more grounded. I'd turned the worst day of my life into a launch pad for something better. The pain didn't break me. It built me.